Maybe. This is what I do in my class, right? Good morning, and then they're quiet, and then I say, okay, let's start over again. We did a redesign this summer of our Math 099, which is intermediate algebra. We had 5 of us working on it. Byron's here with us, Diana Ma. I'm Janet Nichols, Julie Spangler, and Tammy Watkins. The other 3 are all teaching right now, so they're not here. Basically, we looked alphabetically. We have talked about Math 098 and 099 and the struggles that students have in those courses. Before we began with the redesign in Math 098, the introductory algebra course, we had 4 lectures per week for 14 weeks, 1 week of finals. The ACT scores to get into that were 15, 16, or 17. In Math 099, intermediate algebra, there were 4 lectures per week for 14 weeks and 1 week of finals. The ACT was 18. 19 to 21 also were placed in there unless they did a special college algebra. So each fall we have a special college algebra that has a supplemental instruction built in just in time. And if you're 19 to 21 and you want to get through college algebra more quickly, or get through the math sequence more quickly, you can take that college algebra class. So we have that. Then, during the summer of 2014, thanks to PROPEL, and now the summer of 2015, we redesigned both Math 098 and 099. Now, what we were doing during the summer was selecting the homework problems from the My Math Lab, which is an online homework that we used. We considered the types of problems, what we were trying to accomplish in those sections, the difficulty, the length of the assignments, and what the objective of the assignment really was. In addition, we created worksheets and provided information for the instructors. So in other words, if there was a topic that we weren't going to cover in that section, we indicated to the instructors that this was not the place that we were going to do that, or this was something that we wanted to emphasize in that particular section. Our new structure was one in which they're now meeting 5 days a week. So Math 098, we finally have fully implemented this fall. They're meeting 5 days a week with 3 blocks. They have an exam at the end of each of the blocks. If they are successful, then they just continue on in the blocks. If not, there is what we call the second opportunity. So what happens is that they have this second opportunity to pass the class. So if they're not successful, there's more help in place for them during that second opportunity, and hopefully during that first semester they're going to pass the class. Otherwise, what happened in the past is if they failed that first test or failed the second test, they were failing the course, and there was a semester that was gone. This way, if they are successful in the first, they go to that second unit. If they're not, they go over into the second opportunity. If they passed the first unit, but in the second unit they meet with failure, they get to go into the second opportunity. So anywhere along those 3 blocks, they get the opportunity to do the second opportunity. Now, in the second opportunity, if they fail, however, then they fail the class. So the nice thing about this is that the block 4, you're done. If you've succeeded in the first opportunity, you're done. And we did run this in the spring. Just a little background. I have more statistics about Math 098, but Math 099 are very similar. But we actually last fall instituted the worksheets that we had created in the summer. And so in fall of 2005, when we first started looking at what was going on in our remedial courses, you can see the pass rates in those classes. We had instructors were PCC employees at that time. Fall 2007 was when we were in the transition of switching over to our instructors teaching this because of funding issues. We also had massive discussions about exams. So everybody brought their exams in. It was really a community of learning for the instructors. People shared their exams. We built exams together. We looked at what types of problems were being placed on those exams. We also talked about homework problems and what homework problems. That's when we instituted the online homework. And so we see a leap between those two falls. When we brought in the model with the worksheets and less lecture and more interaction between students in the fall of 2014, you can see what happened to our pass rate. And so we were pretty pleased with that. We're hoping that this fall it stays or increases. Now, Math 098, the same model that we were working on this summer for 099, we instituted in the spring when there are fewer students so we can kind of see what the glitches are. Now, when you first look at this, you say, oh, your pass rate went down in the spring, right? We also had a lot fewer students. Part of it that we're really pleased with is one of the things that has happened in the past is students are passing all the rest of their classes, but they're not successful in the remedial. If a student had a GPA of 2.6 or more, all of them passed. And if you look at the previous spring, it was only 77% that passed. So that those students in that group were really motivated and did pass. Now, the GPA less than 2, that was about the same. That in between 2 and 2.6 was sort of the thing that had the major effect. That was where those, and we don't know since it's such a small sample why that occurred. One of the things about spring though is spring are the students who mostly were unsuccessful. We have a high percentage of those students have GPAs less than 2. If you're looking, you can see that that's a good number of the group, okay? There's a very strong correlation between the pass rates in these classes and their GPAs. So, the benefits of this new design is that students who do not complete homework at the beginning of the semester or at some point during the semester and or fail exams have the second opportunity right away. And so they can complete that. Since there are 2 remedial courses, particularly in 098, this is great for them because this gives them that they're not falling behind another semester. The other benefit is students who are successful in that first opportunity. We think one of the reasons that the GPA and the success rate was because they had those last 3 weeks to devote to their other courses. And that's when papers and all sorts of things are mostly due in other courses. So now they're not dealing with having to do the math as well as the papers and everything else. So they can devote their time and energy to those other courses as well. Okay? So, the block system for Math 098 is fully implemented this fall. We just gave the first block exam. 30 of the 200 students will have a second opportunity to successfully complete the course. And then worksheets the worksheets that we generated this summer are being used by some of our Math 099 instructors, and in the spring, both of them will be under this new model where they'll have those second opportunities. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
Were there any things that you missed by designing the block course that you thought you had trouble maybe giving up, or?
Actually, it's the same amount of time. I think we examined, what happened was, we examined the curriculum more carefully to say, what are the things that are really important? These students are mostly going on to college algebra and our math for liberal arts and statistics. So what are the really important curricular matters that will help them in those courses? And so we really looked carefully. Every time we made an assignment, we discussed every single problem that was going into the homework assignment. So every homework problem was looked at. Some of them we were looking at from the perspective of, oh, this is interesting, because then we got to see what was happening with the generation of the online homework. So for example, we had a cubic that had x cubed minus 1, and then we had a cubic that had x cubed minus 11 cubed, except it was out with 11 cubed on it. And we were thinking, will the students really recognize that number, right? So the difficulty with the exercises on the online, so one of the things we noticed was sometimes with the online homework, there was some possibility that the quality of the problems were not the same. So.
Just out of curiosity, so is 099 the prereq for all other math courses? Like, is it, or for example, for our system, we have Math 050, which is basically 098. That is a prereq for either stats or clinical calculations for nurses, or the math, the liberal arts math. We do
Right.
109 or 120. And
Well,
then if you go to do STEM, it's 055, which would be your 099, and then they gotta do college algebra. So,
right now, ours is just strictly 099.
okay, so you have to take 099. Okay. Well, I just want to bring that up because one of the things Chip Navo's in design, because we were used to do 4 developmental courses.
Right, I'm well aware
Yeah.
that
Disaster. and so I was just wondering, is there any plans to change it so that 050 is just going to be your prereq to the 120?
I think we're waiting to see how successful that is, because we've heard some horror stories from some places about that particular program.
Really?
And so I think before we were to go that route, we might want to make sure that it is proving successful for those students.
Well, in this different context, our 109 is different than 120. You know, it has a stronger algebra.
Okay, well, that's the thing
So
too.
that's-
See, I didn't know what, see, that's the problem. One of the things we at that 2 to 4 was the liberal arts math is a big problem, because we need to get a handle on how to teach liberal arts math, and I don't think there's any consensus on how to do that. College algebra, yeah, we got that nailed, but liberal arts math, no.
I have a question regarding your student population. So students that go into this class tend to be they might have different needs, right? Before they can jump into whatever next course they're doing. So what specific strategies do you use besides allowing them to retake if they don't do well?
Okay, so the course is designed that the first 10 to 15 minutes is lecture. The rest of the time is the work on the worksheets. The instructor is, so there's lots of group interaction. The instructor is walking around the classroom and working with these individual groups. In my class last fall of the introductory algebra, they, at the last 10 minutes of class, put the problems up on the board and shared their work with each other. So there was lots of group support of the students. They got to know each other really well. First day was introductions, so there was all this kind of support. We also have a math learning center that provides support. So there are a variety of ways to support the student in addition to just in the classroom as well. Did that?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, so it's, thank you.